Greetings everyone, welcome back to my channel. In this video, we are going to discuss about Python loops. But before that, if you are new to my channel, please click on the subscribe button and hit the bell icon so that you are aware about the latest updates. Now let us try to understand the various type of control structures in Python. Python gives me basically two types. One is the conditional statements, other are the loops. Well, conditional statements are taken care of by the various forms of if. We have a simple if statement, then we have if-else statements, we also have if, elif, else, and we have the nested if statements. Well, if you want to cover the if statements, there is a complete video altogether, the link for which I have already shared in the description box. Coming back to loops, there are two types of loops in Python. One is the for loop, other is the while loop. Almost all programming languages, they allow us with some looping constructs that allow you to repeat a set of statements or maybe a single statement a finite number of times or maybe infinite. Well, the looping statements help a programmer as the programmer is writing the instructions a single time, but during execution it is executed multiple times. Let us take some examples. The daily occurrence of morning, noon, evening and night. This is an example of loop, a non-terminating loop in nature. On the other hand, if a laborer is digging a hole 10 feet deep, the laborer will start by digging the hole. After some time he'll measure if he has reached the height of 10 feet. If no, he will continue again with the digging, again measure till the time he is reaching 10 feet height. The moment he is reaching 10 feet, he is going to stop. This is an example of terminating loop. Let us start with the technical details of while loop. Well, the syntax for loop goes like this. You first need to initialize the variables. After that, you follow with the while keyword, followed by an expression, followed by the colon sign. Now, expression here refers to any Boolean expression that can result in either a true or a false value. It can be something like if while a is greater than 10, or maybe while a is less than equal to 100, or any other Boolean expression. A here is a variable. After that, in the next line, I write the statement or the set of statements to be repeated, followed by the update expression. Now, both of these statements or maybe the group of other statements, they must follow the indentation rule by leaving a tab space. Indentation is very important in Python. This may be followed by any statements that are required after the termination of loop, which here is reflected by the statement n over. Now, talking about the flow of control, this initialization of variables is going to happen only one time. After that, the expression is tested. If the expression is true, these statements are executed followed by the update expression. After executing the update expression, the control goes back to the while statement, checking again for the expression. If the expression is still giving me a true result, the set of statements again are going to be executed. So this cycle of testing and updating followed by testing again and the statements to repeat, this goes on until the condition, the expression here is evaluated to false. Let's take an example. Here I am going to print the first 10 natural numbers. Because I am printing first 10 natural numbers, I need a variable who is going to count. Let me take this variable as I. I initialize my variable I. I give it a starting value as 1. Then I write the keyword while followed by my expression which says I less than equal to 10. So children, this means that the loop is going to continue while the value of I remains lesser or equal to 10. Inside the loop, I am using the print statement. I write print I followed by the variable I and equal to. This will print the values in the same line. As for the update part, I am increasing the value of I by 1. So after increasing the value, it will again go back to the while statement. Again check if I has reached the value 10. If no, it will continue. If yes, it is going to come to the end of my while loop, which comes to the print statement over here. So this will be the output of the given program. After the execution of this loop 10 times, variable I is going to stop at 11. Talking about the for loop, the syntax is much simpler. In a single statement, I am initializing my variable as well as updating my variables. I start with the keyword for. I can use any variable name over here. I write the keyword in followed by an iterable. Now, I'll tell you what can be the iterable. Iterable can be either a string, it can be a list, or it can be the range function. We will take many examples of this, so please do not worry about it. After writing this for statement, I write the statements that I want to repeat after giving a tab space. Again, the same indentation rule. So when the loop is going to end, after that, the statement n is going to be executed. So again, this loop is going to be executed till there are items in the iterable. As many number of items there are, that many number of times the for loop is going to be executed. So here we have to keep one thing in mind, that for loop is always executed a fixed number of times. The while loop may be used in a situation where I do not know in advance the number of times I may need to execute. We'll take more examples of this. Let me take the same example of printing first 10 natural numbers now using a while loop. Here I start with a for statement. I write for variable I in range. Now range is an inbuilt function which is going to produce a list of numbers. Here I give the starting number as 1, the ending number as 11, and the update statement, or you can say the incremented value by 1. The print statement remains the same as I have used in the while loop. Print I equal to variable I, end equal to blank. This will print my variable I in the same line with a constant message I equal to 1, I equal to 2, or I equal to 3, and so on till the value reaches 10. Here in this case, the range function is going to give me a list of values starting from 1 going up till 10. Please note, the value goes up till 10. So whatever value you are giving over here, it stops at one value reduced from that. Now the same function, putting up parallelly while loop as well as for loop. You can compare. I need to initialize my variable I. In this case, I am not initializing. I am just giving the starting value in the range function. In case of while loop, I am giving a Boolean expression while I less than equal to 10. Till the time this condition gives me a true result, the loop is going to continue. The moment the condition becomes false, the loop will terminate. In case of for loop, I am giving a starting value and an ending value along with the range function. The repeating statement, that will remain the same. In case of while loop, you will also need an update expression. In case of for loop, the update expression using the range function is automatically taken care of, so we can skip that. Now let us talk about the range function. As I told you, it is an inbuilt function. It can be used in the given format. Range function may have three parameters. One is the starting value, second is the ending value, third is the increment value. All of these should be integer type. Now the range function is going to give me a list of numbers that begin from start. They are going up till end minus 1. Please remember, end minus 1. This is very important. Children often get confused over here. The third value, which refers to the increment, this specifies by how many values, by how many steps the number is going to be incremented. By default, if I'm not providing anything, the step value remains at 1. Let's take some examples. If I use range function like this, range 1, 10, 2, this would mean produce a list of numbers beginning at 1, going up till 10 with a skip count of 2. So that would mean my numbers produced are 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. In the second example, I have skipped the step count or the increment. If I'm writing range 1, 5, that would mean produce a list of numbers starting from 1 up till 5 minus 1. That's 4. So my list of numbers goes as 1, 2, 3, 4. In the third example, I have skipped both the starting and the increment value. If I'm using only one parameter, only one argument inside the range function, that is considered as the end parameter. Here in this case, the starting value will be 0 and the increment value or the step value you can say will be 1. So if I'm writing range 4, that would give me 0, 1, 2, 3. Let's see some more examples. If I write for I in range 5, 12, that would give me a list of numbers starting from 5 going up till 11. The step count here is 1. If I write range 10, 20, 3, this would mean the numbers going from 10 up till 19 with a step count of 3. I hope this is clear. Students, you can use the positive as well as negative numbers, but please make sure the starting value is always lesser than the ending value. If I am having a positive increment value, let's see, range minus 20, 5, step value 7. That would give me with a step counting of 7. From minus 20, the next value is minus 13. After minus 13, the next value is minus 6, followed by 1. As the last stopping value is 5, so this is where my range function is going to stop. If I'm using a single parameter for I in range 7, that would mean producing a list of numbers 0 to 6. As I told, the start value must be greater than stop, but that is in case when the increment or the update value is positive. In case my increment is negative, I would be having a starting value greater than the stop. So that would mean a reverse counting. If I say start at 20, stop at 1 with a step count of minus 5, that would give me a list of numbers as 20 followed by 15, then 10 and then 5. So here I am moving a backward count. Now, the for loop can also be used with list, tuples, dictionaries and strings. As I told you, iterable. Range function is one iterable that gives you a list of numbers. You can also have various other things like a list, tuple, dictionary or string. Let us see how. Here in this case, I am having a list with 3 values. The first value is a string. The next two are integers. So if I'm using this list L as a iterable for my for loop, this loop is going to execute how many times? 3 times, because there are 3 items in my list. So when I say for I in L, variable I is going to take the first value from my list. It will print the value. After that, in the next iteration, in the second repetition of loop, it is going to take the second value from list. It will be 12. Printing the value of I will get me 12 over here. The third time it goes into the loop, variable I will be taking the value 342. And that is how my next value 342 is printed. Taking the example of a tuple, let us say if I have a tuple of 3 colors, yellow, orange and blue, and I write again for I in T, variable I is going to take each value one by one from the tuple. First of all, I will be yellow, printing yellow. Next time, I will be orange, print the value. Next time, variable I will be having the string blue, so it is printing the string blue. If we are talking about a dictionary is a set of values in the format key is to value. Now this is considered as one element, one complete set, key is to value. Second element. So this loop is going to execute 2 times. When I write for I in D, here D refers to my dictionary. Variable I will take the values of my keys in the dictionary. First time I will be 1. second time the I will be 2. So if I say print I am printing values 1 and 2. If I take a string for an iterable and I use the same loop for I in Python. Now in this case, variable I is going to take each character from the string one by one. First time, variable I will be having the value P. Next time it has the value Y, then T, then H, O and N. After this, when there are no more characters in the string, the loop is going to terminate. As I already told you, for loop runs for a fixed number of times. So as many values there are in your iterable, that many times the loop is going to execute. Now let us see some more examples. Here I will be displaying you a Python script to display first n even numbers. Now children, I will be presenting both the views, the for loop as well as the while loop. You can take up whatever you want or whatever you feel easy. Here, first of all, I am taking input for how many even numbers the user wants to print. Let us say the user gives the input as n. Now, I know my even numbers are going to begin at 2. So, in the for loop, I use the range function that goes from 2 up till 2 into n. Now, let's understand this. If the user says 5 even numbers, what will be my fifth even number? 2 into 5, that will give me 10. And the for loop always requires my end value to be 1 more than the required value. That's why I write 2 into n plus 1. When I begin with the first even number as 2, my next even number will be reached by adding 2. After that, again I will need to add 2. So here I have kept the increment value at 2. I am simply printing the value of I. So when I execute this loop, I would get my numbers as 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 and 12. Let us do the same thing using the while loop. Let us take the input, variable n, the same statement. Now here in this case, I will need a counter. In case of while loop, I will need a counter to keep a check how many times the loop has executed. I am keeping the name of my counter variable as I. I is starting with the value 1. The number that is going to be printed is the variable num, which is starting at 2. So I say while variable I is less than equal to n, if I need the same 6 even numbers, so I will be having a value 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Counter is going to be incremented one time in each iteration. I am going to print the number, and after that I am going to increase my number, which is the next even number, by 2. So this will be the equivalent while loop for the same program. Next example, I want to write a Python script to display the sum of first 100 natural numbers. Children, we know that natural numbers, they begin with 1, right? Because I need to sum all of them, I need to take a variable, let's say s, which is beginning at 0. Using the for loop, it's quite simple. I simply write for I in range 1, 101. That would mean the variable I is going to a value starting at 1 going up till 100. And if I keep on adding this value I to my variable s, I will get the sum. Now this sum s, variable s, will be storing a cumulative sum. First time s is 0, I is 1. 0 plus 1 would give me 1. Next time when the value of I reaches to 2, previous value of s is 1. So that will retain the previous value plus adding the new variable I. 1 plus 2 will make the s as 3, and this way I am going to continue. The equivalent while loop, I start with my variable I as 1. I keep the same cumulative sum variable at 0. Here I will give the condition while I less than equal to 100. So till the time variable I does not reach 100, the loop is going to continue. And what do I want to do? I want to add up my variable s with the current value of I. Increase the value of I by 1. Next value of I, again go and check till the time it reaches 100. Continue with the same 2 steps. After 100 iterations, I will get my final answer. I am going to print that outside the loop. Children, please note, my print statement is at the same indentation level as well. Whereas these two statements, they are one tab space right to the while. This is the indentation rule that you have to follow, that you must follow. Otherwise, Python may give you unexpected outputs. Let's take one more example. In this example, I want to print a multiplication table for any number that the user is giving me. So my first statement, n equal to input enter number, this remains the same. I want number as an integer, so I'm converting it to an integer. Because I know my multiplication table, they refer to all the multiples from 1 to 10. So using a for loop, I write for I in range 1, 11. 1, 11. That would mean going from 1 up till 10. Now inside this, please look into the print statement a little carefully. I print the number which has been given by the user followed by a multiplication sign. Now this sign has to be a constant, so that is why I have put it inside the double quotation marks. N is a variable, cross sign is a constant. This needs to be separated by a comma. Now again variable I, which is going to get me 1, 2, 3, 4. This again is a variable. So this is outside the quotation marks, but it has to be separated by commas. Again, equal to sign, another constant inside the double quotation marks. N into I. Now this is an arithmetic expression that will be 8 into 1 or 8 into 2 or maybe 8 into 3. So whatever is the calculated value, that value will be replaced over here. I hope the example is clear. Let us understand the same thing using while loop. I take my variable I initially at 1. I take the user input for number into the n. I use the while loop. While is my keyword. While I less than equal to 10. This is my expression. Starting at 1, yes, it is less than 10. So it comes into the execution of these loop body statements. We call them loop body statements or body of the loop, right? So the print statement remains the same as I have written in the for loop, and I need to increase the variable of my I. Children, this step is very important. Come to think of it, if I forget to increment or decrement the value of my variables, what is going to happen? This will turn into an infinite loop. Whatever is the initial value, you are not making any change to the value. The condition is true, it will always remain to be true. This will make your program an infinite loop or a non-terminating loop. The system will eventually hang. Another program, factorial of a number. Now, before moving into the program, we need to understand the concept of factorial. Mathematically, factorial of a number is always calculated as the product of numbers starting from 1 going up till that number. So let us say if I want the factorial of 3, it is represented like this. Factorial symbol is written like this, 3 factorial. This will be equal to 1 multiplied by 2. So whatever is the result of this multiplication, that needs to be multiplied by 3. When I reach the same number as my user input, or you can say the required number, this is where I need to stop. So this product, whatever is the answer, will be my factorial. Let us understand it technically, how this can be done using Python loops. First of all, I'll need the user input. Let us say variable n. I hope the statement is clear by now. For storing the answer, I am taking my variable s. I initialize. I give it a starting value as 1. Then I am beginning at 1. I need to go up till that number. So in my range function, I have the start at 1. I need to go up till n plus 1. What am I doing inside the loop? I am multiplying my variable s with the current value of I. Children, this can also be written in the shorthand notation s star equal to I. This would eventually mean the same thing, s equal to s into I. This is the shorthand notation, or you call it augmented multiplication or augmented addition in Python. Finally, after the termination of loop, I am printing whatever is the calculated value of my variable s. Doing the same inside while loop, I take my user input, I initialize my variable s. Now, the loop control variable, which was I need to give it an explicit initialization. I start with I as 1. My condition reaches while I less than equal to n, followed by a colons. The loop body, s equal s into I equal I plus 1. Remember, update statements need to be there explicitly in while loop. After incrementing I, it will go up again. Check whether I is still less than equal to n. Yes, it will execute the loop body again. Finally, after the termination point has been reached, you will print the value of s with a constant message factorial of n equal to whatever is the present value. Another question, a Fibonacci series. Children, please understand the concept first. A Fibonacci series, in any programming language we have this concept, is a special series that start with 0 and 1 as the initial numbers. The third number is always calculated as the sum of previous two. So I can say 0 plus 1 will give me 1. 1 plus 1 will give me 2. 2 plus 1 will give me 3. 2 plus 3 is going to give me 5. 3 plus 5 gives me 8. 5 plus 8 gives me 13. And this way I can continue till whatever number of terms the user wants to be printed. Right? Because I have, for my major calculation, I will be needing 3 numbers. Let us take my first two numbers a and b as 0, 1. I take the user input for how many terms, how many times he wants the Fibonacci series to be printed. This goes into my variable n. Now I start with the for loop. I write for I in range n. I is going to be simply counting how many terms I have printed. Okay. First of all, I print my first term. I write print a end equal to anything. That would print all the numbers in the same line. Then I calculate my third term as c equal to a plus b, where c refers to the third value. After calculating the third term, what am I doing? Whatever is the second value, I give that to my first variable a. Whatever is the new calculated third, I give it to my second variable. From this statement, I again go back to the for loop, check how many terms it have printed, again print now the first term. Second time onwards, the first will be 1. Again a new c is calculated, 1 plus 1. This time c will be 2. Again the same statements, make second number as the first number, third number is the new second. Again calculate the new third. So this way I am going to continue till the number of terms as required, as desired by the user. Alright. Now this is the same program being done by the while loop. User input, how many terms? First two terms, a and b. Multiple initialization. Children, remember, I can initialize two variables a comma b. First value goes to my first variable, second value 1 goes to the second variable b. Here I put in my condition while a is less than equal to n. I print my variable a, calculate the third term as c equal to a plus b. Again, make second as the first term, make third value as the second value. Again calculate the next third value. So this way I can keep on printing the terms of my Fibonacci series. Children, these three set of statements may also be replaced by this one single statement. I am writing a comma b equals to b comma a plus b. So whatever is the current value of b, that goes into a. Whatever will be the calculated value of a plus b, that will go into the variable c. So whatever approach you feel easier, you may take up that. Let's take up another question to display the reverse of a number. I'll start with taking input in my variable n. I take a variable reverse initializing with 0. Then I check with a while loop. I give the condition while n is not equal to 0. So what I'm doing over here basically is I am dividing the number by 10. I'm taking up the remainder in my variable rem. Then I'm doing the integer division. That will leave me the rest of number, leaving behind the last one. The last number is already there in the remainder. So I find out the reverse by multiplying the previous value of reverse with 10. That makes it goes to the tens place. And now adding the newly found remainder. These steps, when they are iterated over a number of times, they will ultimately give you the reverse of your original number. Students, I am not taking this question with the for loop, as the number input by the user may vary for a 2-digit number, 3-digit number, or maybe even a 4-digit number. So accordingly, these steps need to be iterated either 2 times, 3 times, or 4 times. Because a for loop demands the iteration to be known beforehand, so I'm not giving a parallel solution with the for loop. Now let us talk about the jump statements in Python. There are 3 statements: break, continue, and pass. The break statement is used to prematurely terminate a loop. So wherever you encounter a break statement, the statements after that, they are skipped over and the loop comes to a stop, or you can say the loop comes to a termination. Let's take it with an example. If I write a loop for I in range 1, 11, this loop is supposed to execute 10 times. I write a condition where I say if I percentage 5 double equals 0, in that case I want to break out of the loop. So this loop I percentage 5, this condition will not be valid for the first 4 values, that is 1, 2, 3 and 4. So obviously the value is printed, we come to the else part. But when the value of I becomes 5 and the modulus operator that returns a 0, Python executes the break statement, and that means the end of for loop. The loop which was supposed to execute 10 times is now prematurely terminating. The continue statement, on the other hand, is also a jump statement. This also says skip over rest of the statements for the loop, and instead of terminating the loop, it says continue with the next iteration. So let me take the same example for I in range 1, 11. This time I say for I percentage 3 double equals to 0. That means whenever I find my value of I as a multiple of 3, in that case I want to continue. Continue means skip the rest of statements in the loop, move to the next iteration. So the multiples of 3, they are not there in the print statement. Values printed are 1, 2, 4, 5, 7, 8 and 10. We also have a pass statement that is generally used as a placeholder, or you can say when the user does not actually want to execute any statements, rather the user wants to simply pass the control. So if I simply write for I in range 1, 11, if I percentage 2 is 0, I'm writing pass. That means do nothing if value of I is a multiple of 2. Otherwise, you have to print the values. Now we will be talking about the else block in for and while loop. We have understood the else clause in the if statement. Now Python is the only language that allows the else keyword to be used with the loops, that is both the loops for and while loop. The else block is written after the entire body of the loop. The statements inside the else block, they will be executed after all the iterations are completed. That means when the loop is terminating normally and the loop is not terminated using the break statement. That means the loop has completed all the iterations. Only in that case the loop else is executed. Again, let us understand the else block taking some examples. In the first example, I am using a while loop which goes on up till 4 iteration because the value of x is starting at 1. The condition says x less than 5. I'm simply printing the value of x and increasing the value of x, updating by 1. So that gives me the output as 1, 2, 3, 4. After all these 4 iterations, I come to the loop else statement and I print else block in the loop. And finally, I come to the out of loop print statement, which gives me the required output. The same output can be achieved using the for loop. Here I write for x in range 1, 5. The increment statement is not required. I'm simply printing the value of x. Again, this gives me the same output, value of x 1, 2, 3, 4. Because there is no break statement, I come to the loop else part as well. Else block in the loop and finally printing out of the loop. Now let us take the third example where I have introduced a break statement in the loop. The loop which was destined to go 4 times. Now I have introduced a statement which says if x equals to 3. That means after the values 1 and 2, when I come to the third iteration, I break out of the loop. Now because the loop has been terminated because of the break statement, the loop else will not be executed and I directly move to the statement out of the loop. Hence the output. The same task is achieved using for loop for x in range 1, 5. This says there will be 4 iterations. But inside the loop, I am checking if x equal 3, go to break. That means terminate the loop. No more iterations. So finally, loop else is not encountered here as well and you get the statement print out of the loop. Let us take one example of checking a number for prime using the loop else. I take a user input for a number. I put a flag variable. Let me see how I use this. Now, we need to understand that a prime number is basically a number which is having only 2 factors, the number 1 and the number itself. Other than these 2 factors, if I find a third factor, that means the given number is not a prime number. It has some other factor as well. So to find out the factors, what I'm basically doing, I am using a for loop that goes from 2 up till n divided by 2. So if I can find a factor in between this range, I am checking inside the loop if n percentage I. That means if I is a perfect multiplication factor for the number given number n, in that case I can say the given number is not prime and I break out of the loop. That means I stop there and then no more numbers need to be checked. Otherwise, if all these numbers are tested and I do not find any of these numbers as a factor, the range 2 to n divided by 2. In that case, I come to the loop else part and I can say this number is a prime number. The same task being achieved here with the while loop. Here I need to initialize my variable I. I give the condition explicitly till I less than equal to n /2 and I also need the update statement explicitly. Rest of the logic remains the same. I hope the question is clear. Now let us come to the last concept of looping, which is nested loop. A nested loop basically refers to a loop inside another loop. Well, in this case, we have an outer loop and we have an inner loop. Inner loop is basically a substatement of the outer loop. So in this case, we can say for each iteration of the outer loop, the inner loop will execute to its completion. So let us say if the inner loop is to execute m times and the outer loop is going to execute n times. The statement written inside the inner loop, they will be executed m into n times. First time, when the value of x is 0, all the statements inside the inner loop, they will be executed m times. Next time, when the value of x is 1, then again the inner loop is executed m times. For value of x as 2, then again you have the inner loop statements being executed m times. So every time the inner loop will execute to its completion. Well, in this case, we can also have a while loop. The same example, x being initialized to 0, I put the condition while x less than n. This would mean the value of x goes from 0 to n minus 1. Outer loop n times. For the inner loop, I have another variable, let us say y less than m. That would mean m iterations for the inner while loop. So ultimately these statements, the inner loop body statements, they will be executed m into n number of times. Let us take this again through an example. Here I want to display a number of series in a pyramid pattern. Let us take first by using the for loop. I want to display the increasing order of numbers. Let's say for the first row it is number 1. For the second rows there are two numbers 1 and 2. For third row there are three numbers 1, 2 and 3 and so on. Till the time the user wants the number of rows. So here I take number of rows as n, user input. Now I start with the for loop for I in range 1, n plus 1. Now this would mean n iterations, right? Let us assume the first case when value of I is 1. The inner loop here is going to execute only one time. See, range 1, 2, I plus 1. That would mean only one iteration. What am I doing over here? I'm printing the value of j. J right now is 1. After one iteration, this loop is going to terminate. I print a blank line and then I move to the next iteration of my outer loop. This time value of I is 2. Inner loop for j in range 1, 2 plus 1, that is 3. When I say range 1, 3, that would mean 2 iterations. J will be having the value 1, next time it has the value 2. So the second row is printed and so on. This way again I move to the third iteration. Value of I becomes 3. In that case, the j loop, the inner loop, is going to execute 3 times. Range function 1, I plus 1. That means 3 plus 1. So when I say range 1, 4, that would mean 3 numbers 1, 2 and 3. Every time I'm printing the value of j. I hope this question is clear. The same can be achieved by using the while loop. Here I just need to explicitly define my value I variable. I give the condition while I less than equal to n. Then I initially declare the value of j as 1 every time inside the inner loop. I put my condition j less than equal to I. Print value of j, increase j by 1. That would also give me the same output eventually. So with this, we come to an end of the topic, discussion of loops. These are some practice questions. I suggest practice more and more because practice is the only key to success. Practice is the only key where you achieve confidence with programming. I hope I have made the concept of looping clearer to you. Still, if there are any doubts, please put them in the comment section. Thank you.